Do this one. Okay, we will start doing lab 5, which entails using Kali Linux virtual machine. Like I mentioned before, if you try to download Kali VM on your home computer, it might show up as a malware because Kali had changed some of the tools. So if you want, you can come in and do that here, or we can also download it and transfer it to the a drive, and then you can bring that home to be able to use. Yeah, it's not a risk. Okay. Okay. So I would need to go to the link here to be able to access the downloads. Let me see if I have that open. Okay. And then you would need to download your regular VirtualBox virtual machine, which is clicking that arrow down. And it's going to take about 3-4 minutes to come down. Yeah, that also used to track as a malware here last week, toward the end of last week. And we added a ticket for that to fix today. Okay, so once you have downloaded, go to your downloads folder. Now, if you're using Edge, which is Microsoft browser, make sure you save as. Click save as and then put it on. It's gonna put it on the downloads folder. So the one with the zip symbol, that's the one that you are going to extract. So you're gonna right click, show more options, choose 7-zip and extract files, right? So we're gonna go to save it to the downloads folder, go to downloads folder, find the downloaded Kali Linux VM, but it is compressed. So you're gonna right click, show more option, 7-zip and extract file. Anytime that you're using VM in this class, just make sure that you give it more RAM and more processor to start, okay? Because it just saves you time. If you run it as is, it's just gonna take twice as long. So before you start your VM, make sure you give it more RAM, and I'm gonna walk you through that next. So after we extracted the virtual machine, you're gonna find the folder without the zip symbol. That's the one that we're gonna use to load our VM. Okay? All right, so now I'm gonna call up VirtualBox. So type in virtual on your Windows search bar and open Oracle VirtualBox app. And then what you're gonna do is you are going to click add. Go to downloads folder, find your Kali Linux folder that you extracted, open up its subfolder, and then find the blue icon file, which is the .vbox file, and click open. It's gonna load it to your playlist. Don't click start yet. Let's check the setting. So with it selected, go to setting, and then on your motherboard option, the RAM, the base memory here, clear it out and give it 8,000. But if you already started your VM, in order to change the setting, you have to shut it down and then change. You can run it as it is. Like I said, it's just going to take a little longer for each of the parts of the lab. Okay. So after we add 8,000, or we clear out the base memory and change it to 8,000 megabyte, we are going to click processor, and we can increase the CPU by changing the number 2 to 4. So we're going to give it 4 core and 8 gig of RAM, and then click OK. So again, select Kali Linux in your playlist of VirtualBox, click setting, change your base memory to 8,000, click the processor tab, change that to 4 GCPU, and then click OK. So once that's done, click start. Okay, we're gonna log in. Once Kali load, you're gonna type in the username and the password, KALI and KALI. Then you start part B. So part B, we are going to need one of these small USB. And you need to mount the USB, right? This is the third time we're doing this, so it should be pretty easy, but we always want to make sure that we relearn, repractice. So I'm gonna plug in my CIS27 USB. Is there? All right. Okay, so once my Kali is loaded, I'm gonna log in. Now, you don't have to use Kali Linux to be able to run these tools as we would install them anyways. If you use Ubuntu or another Debian Linux, just gotta make sure you push updates. And the reason why I use Kali is because the virtual machine has already been created for you, and it's a quick download and extract, okay? All right, so first I'm going to mount the USB, right? We've done this in the second lab and then also the fourth lab. So plug in your small CIS27 USB. I'm gonna move the zoom up a little bit. And then I'm gonna click on the devices menu at the top. You don't have to change it in settings. You can just go to devices at the top, go to USB, and then select general U disk. Right? You would only need to go to the setting if you don't see that's listed there, right? We would add it and then enable it in. So again, plug in your USB because otherwise you won't see it. And then go to devices, USB, and then make sure you have a check. So click on general U disk, right? And so technically, we don't need to add it. We just need to make sure that we do step 14. Okay. So make sure we do step 14. That's important. Okay. All right. So if you have done you added the USB, you should see there's an icon of it here, right? It would show that you have some kind of, I'm sorry, the icon of it here, the little chicken foot. It's right here. Okay, it should say 128 megabyte volume. So if you didn't mount your USB, you won't see that here. Okay, so make sure you click devices and then select that USB device. All right, that was step 14. Always start your Linux system with an update. So click the terminal, which is the black square. And I am going to do a sudo apt update. The reason why is when you are installing software, it's always good to have the latest update in the Linux. So type in the password, like don't pay attention to the cursor, just type the right password and it will take. So this process is gonna take a few minutes. Just gotta be patient with the updates, even though we just downloaded the version, but there would be additional updates to some software. Okay. All right. So after we do the update and put in the password, we are going to open the application Guymager. Now, you know that Guymager is installed, right? I didn't have to install this one. So Guymager is installed, and when you type in sudo, which is super user do, so I have the privilege to run the application, Guymager is going to show up in blue when I type the command. And so basically, and you can copy and paste the command for Kali Linux, but if you want to practice typing, you can. Okay. So we're going to open up the application and it's going to give you the UI, which is nice, right? So this particular software tool is used to create image or read images, right? So what you see is it's going to have the UI like this. And we are going to have the general U disk. That's your USB that you mounted, okay? So SDB general U disk, that's the USB, okay? It's not 4 GB, it's 128. I gave you a smaller drive because it takes less time. I learned this from my prior class. Okay, so you are going to select the one that says U disk, okay? Not the other one, because the other one is your virtual machine. So we're going to select the U disk. That's the USB, the 126 megabyte. So it's a little bit less than 128, right? So it asks you, what is the drive size? So it says the size there. We want to make sure that we note that. And then on the bottom, it tells me, so make sure you select the USB one, and then it's going to tell me the sector size, which is 512, right? That's your standard sector size. I think someone had returned one to the, because I just have enough for this class. All right. All right. So, well, after you record this exercise, take a screenshot of this and paste it to your lab. Now, next we are going to right-click the USB drive, not the one that says 126 megabyte. We're going to right-click and then select Acquire Image. It's going to open up this form and you're going to put in your case information. So let's give it case 004, right? And then we're going to say evidence number 004. We can say USB. And you can be more detailed, right? You can say general U disk or something. If there's a brand, you can put SanDisk, whatever, right? But we're just going to call it 004 USB and then put in your full name. Because this is going to give you the report information. And then the description, we're going to put, instead of 4.0, we can put 128 megabyte USB drive containing evidence. I have. So I modified this to 128. Okay, evidence artifacts. Now we want to put this image to a location where we can find it. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a folder, right? And then we're going to call it case 04. And then we're going to choose that folder, and we're gonna make the USB. So image directory, which is the button in the middle here with the 3 dot, you're gonna click that. Okay, and it's gonna put it into your root directory. If you want it on desktop or something, you can click the arrow down right here to choose, but it's gonna default to your home folder, I believe. And so you are going to call this case 004. Let me see if it lets you make it. It doesn't. Yeah, I think you have to choose computer. Okay. Select computer and then put in case 004. No, maybe not. Okay, so we're gonna supplement this step. So before, let's leave that and come back to the terminal real quick. Don't close this prompt, otherwise you have to retype. So in terminal, you can make a directory, right? You guys know this. Some of you know how to do this. So mkdir, and we're gonna call this case 004. Okay. So I'm gonna add before this, so make a directory in terminal using command mkdir case 004. Maybe I didn't select the new, but okay. All right, press enter and it should take your directory. Now in your image directory, you can click that and then you can type. Oh, you know what I did? I didn't make a new folder, right? Sorry. So you can do this step, or you can do the command. So if you just want to make a folder inside the app, you click this dot and then you click the folder with the plus sign, and you can call this case 0004, right? I had 20 for the other ones, so now I gotta make 30 for this one. And then once you type out your name, again, click the folder with the plus sign to make your folder, and then select it and then click choose. Or you can make it in the command line where you do that first, and then you can select it in the app. Okay? So once you made it and you selected the folder, that's where your image is gonna go, right? And then you're gonna type in your image file. So I'm gonna go 004 USB, right? And I changed the size, so I'm gonna put 128 megabyte. And click start. So if you put 4 gigabyte, that's fine, right? We modified this to 128 megabyte because I give you a smaller drive. Okay, so we can make it in the terminal, or we can make it in the app itself and be able to select it. So once you let it go, this is gonna take a little bit for it to complete, right? 128 megabyte is fairly fast, and it tells you the image file is going to be this file name that you gave it, .exx, right? Because this application create image that's exx. Now, for the project, if you use this app, you just gotta make sure that whatever, like if you use Pro Discover or Autopsy to analyze the image, it has to be compatible. Some image maker cannot make files that are compatible with other software. So we have to make sure that the file is compatible with the analysis software, right? So this is easy. However, if you want to make a certain type of image file, like .dd, right? If it is able to do that, you need to put in the full extension of that file. So for example, right, 004 USB image.dd. So if the software is able to do the DD, it's going to then take it and convert the file for DD. .dd is applicable to Pro Discover, Autopsy, Bulk Extractor, you name it, right? So we want to use a standard type of file, but if you don't put in an extension, which is what we just did, and it's fast, it's only going to give you its own file output, right? So then you have to convert it or you have to remake it. So I just want you to know that this is one way to create the image. At the top, you see it? It tells you that it's capable of making .dd. You have to specify it with the extension, right? And so if it's able to make the .dd, then you should make it in .dd. Okay. And you can also select this option before. So my goal is to show you as many tools as I can, so that way you have option if you need to do this, right? However, right, so we have to think about, but if you look at the file is going to be .exx. That's the file for this particular software. Like I said, you can use it to convert it into another type of file, or you can make it in a specific file. You have to specify. Okay. Take a screenshot so that way you have the information. So upon closing this app, yeah. Did you have questions? Yeah, it will calculate it for you. So yeah, give me a sec. Do you have a question? After this. Yeah. Yeah, it won't have any, okay, so you add the calendar. Yeah, because there's no social security number.
That's what S is.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so so that means there are only like a few files on that drive, and none of the files contain any social security number. Yeah, so you're right. If you're done, you can go and rest. You had a long run. All right. Okay, any other questions? Okay. So once we are finished with this, you can close the app, right? And then that's going to take you back to your terminal, and it tells you that the default log file is going to be in this path, right? And then you can look at the runtime root that will be default. So use the default configuration file name. This is the configuration file for the app itself, right? So if you want to configure the app, that's the file that you will use. Now, where can I find my image, right? Have a good night. So it created the 04 in your home directory. I think it should be. I'm sorry. Which is the next part of your lab is where you're gonna be able to map and analyze. So it's did we make it on the desktop or no? We didn't. I didn't. Let me try that again. Yeah, I think I have it under, it's not this one. Let me rerun this real quick. I'm gonna try. Okay. So see. Oh, it's under your root. I'm gonna make it on. Let's see. Yeah, it puts your image into the root if you have the default folder selected. Let me see if I can get it to be. Or we can put it into another folder. It's not giving you desktop option, right? Yeah, under file system, you should be able to find, let me see. That was this case 004. So you can find that there if you, yeah, I think my instruction have you go in and look at desktop, but you can copy it. It's under file system. Okay, I created a second image for it. So you would see that it is E01, which is allowable or compatible with some of the forensic toolkit that you would see, like Autopsy or ProDiscover. If you want raw Linux option, you have to select that at the top for the app, which is the .dd, right? Okay, next, what we're gonna do is we are going to open up Autopsy. Okay, so you already answered the log name information. How many images file were created? You should only have one image file and one info file. So when you look at it, I made two, so you see it here. So you should have an image file, which is a .e01, and the info file, which is its companion file, right? It tells you about the other file. Okay. So you should only have one image file and one. Why is that? Because if your drive is less than 2 GB, you're only gonna get one file, right? If your drive is larger than 2 GB, you're gonna get multiple files. So if my drive is 100 GB, I should have many, right, image file because it would chunk it into about 2 GB each. So you would only have one image file, which would end with the .e01, right? And there is an info file, which is not an image file. It's information about that image file. Okay. Okay. We can open up the info file and be able to answer the question. So we're going to open that up and it's going to tell you the version of the software that you're using. And that is important in forensic to record your tool version, the timestamp that you use to create the image. So it would put in the time and Linux system, Kali Linux is off. Oh, I'm sorry, the version timestamp, that was when it was created. And then you have the library version for the tool and the system. So because I'm using Kali, it's gonna give you the host name or your computer name on the that you used to run. Because you're running it from a compressed folder. Have to extract. Is it simple? Or it's okay, so you extracted it, but you run it from the compressed folder. So over here. So that's been really low on the list. That's why it's so. We don't want that one. The updates on it, so you can start with. Login. Okay, make sure you map the USB or it sees it. Okay, so we should be able to answer those questions by looking at the info file, right? And then if you selected the hash image, it should be able to tell you. So scroll down, keep going. There's no domain, so we're not connected to a domain. The OS version, it tells you this is the version of Linux we're using. Your device information, it didn't give you much there. And then it also tells you a little bit more about your disk information that you use for imaging. Let me see if there was hash options. I thought I had selected it, but the other one. So the acquisition information, it just tells you about the size, the case, the evidence information that you put in. Let me see. Yeah, so if it doesn't give you the hash calculation, then you can leave that blank. But if it should be on line 91. So you have to scroll down and it looks at the hash calculation. If you selected it, it should show it there. If you didn't select it, then you don't have it, right? So that's okay. But in real life, we want to have that selected. Okay. So the hash is right here, line 98. Do you see it? That's the MD5. And if you select other hashes, it would see that here. So, and you want this on your report because you want to show that your image has integrity. So you can verify that with the hash. Acquisition information, scroll down more and you should see like around line 109, you should see the time that you start building the image until it finished, right? It should show today's date and time. And then it tells you the acquisition speed. How fast did it use for input output on this? So it has to read your drive and be able to create your image. So that will be the speed. Okay, and then the file that you have is the file name here. So now, once we have all of that information, we can close the info file and then we can right-click the directory and we can put it on the desktop. Okay, so under your file system, right, you need to find it, double-click file system, go down and find the folder case 004, or go up, I should say. And that's the folder that we're going to copy to the desktop. So right click the folder that's in file system, right click it. And then I think that it might not let you do copy or whatever, like Windows, but what you can do, you can try to drag it to desktop. Let me see if that works. Yeah. So it should put it on desktop. So when you just drag it to desktop, it'll just copy it to your desktop. Okay, any question? Pretty easy, right? Now we're gonna open up Autopsy. So first, we need to access our desktop. So I'm gonna do change directory, CD. So open your terminal, right? Or close the other application and it brings you back to the terminal and do CD desktop. And the reason why we need to navigate to desktop is because our case folder is now on the desktop. We copied it. Okay. And we simply just drag it to the desktop. Next, we are going to open up Autopsy and access the help option. So sudo autopsy -h. And remember that Autopsy is already installed in Kali Linux, so you don't have to install it. If you're using other version, you have to install it, okay? So autopsy.h-h. This gives you some general help options for, or the flag H indicates the help for your app. Then what we're gonna do is we are going to answer this question. It says, which option is used to specify evidence locker directory? So specify evidence locker directory, we are going to use the -d dir, right? So -d and then the folder name. So we're going to do a -d and then our folder name to specify that's where our image is going to be. So evidence locker is just a container where your image is stored. So we're going to use the app to point it to the case 04 that we had created. Okay. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to do a sudo autopsy -d and make sure you type your folder name exactly as it is. I have an extra 0 in mine, so I'm going to make sure. And if you do it correctly, it's going to bold the name. If you don't, it's not going to bold it. It's going to keep it like regular text. Oh, I forgot to put the path. Maybe it doesn't see it. Oh, yeah. So I forgot the slash. Did it work? It shut down? Okay. Use another computer. Let me know if you need help. Okay. So what we have is now it's going to open up the app CLI. So it's going to tell you that this is the evidence locker folder information. And then take a screenshot at that point, and it would tell you the port number that is used to run the app. So how do I know the port? It's listed here. It says local port 9999, right? So basically it opens that window or door to connect that service for Autopsy app. Any questions? So we should be able to find the port information based on the terminal. So how did I get here? Right? I'm gonna cancel out. I basically ran autopsy -d, right? Which is directory, and then / my folder name. And it opens up the app and it tells me the port and the remote host. Then I finished answering these questions and take the screenshot. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up the browser, which is the Firefox on the virtual machine. And you can copy paste this or you can type it in. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this link. And how do I know? It also gives that to me here. So if you click it here, right, or control click or copy the link and put it into Firefox, it should also be the same. So open up Firefox in the virtual machine and then copy and paste the link that you see on that app or on your lab. And that's how you open up the UI of Autopsy in Linux. It runs Java. So, you know, and the application is already installed. It comes with Kali Linux virtual machine. So you just basically needs to run the -d option and then point it to where your image file is or your evidence locker. And it's going to create a URL and you're going to use that URL to access the interface of the app. Then just like other software, we are going to create a new case. So click a new case. And then you're going to put in your information. We're just going to put 004, write the description. We can follow the lab information. I'm going to put 128 megabyte USB drive containing artifacts. And it might cut off there, but maybe just the drive is good. And then put in your investigator information. So your name. Okay. Then once we have that, we're going to click new case. And once you click the new case, you have to add a host. You got to point it to the computer that you're using, which is the host name you saw that from the last exercise. You would have Kali. So type in KALI here. Instead of host 1, delete that and put in KALI. And then you can put in time zone if you want, like UTC or additional description. I'm going to just click add host. And then we're going to bring the image in next. So all forensic toolkit, you just need to make sure you type in the information and then you're going to yeah, so just copy this link. And open Firefox. What's the Yeah, I think you have to run it and then open it. So it established the an active port. Okay. Any question or need any help? Yeah, so let's look at service. Yeah, so you don't have your service for after one day. So you need to run that D for me. Autopsy. So your case is run the whole words. Copy it to your desktop.
Yes.
Next time, don't space, let it treat that as. See how it's not bold.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a space. Space between zeros. Or. Yeah, so, go back. Click. And now. So you have to have actively running. This. Arrow key. Then change the name. So. So let's delete. All right, now let's start. So. Folder. Rename the other one. Copies of one file. So before you put it on the desktop, we need to see. If not, we have to redo that part because. Okay, so the key takeaway is not to use any space in the name. of your folder, it's gonna create problems. Okay. So other questions? We're okay. I'm at the add image. And so it walks you through on how to add the image. Since it's on your desktop, we just need to navigate to it. Okay. So add image file. And we are going to type in the path. So you can copy this, but make sure that it's exactly how you name it. Some of you have upper lowercase, some of you have. So this part needs to be like how you name it, right? So I want to make sure. And the easiest way to is also look at your file path here. You can also go to file system, go to desktop, right? Go to this. And then let me see if I can. Oh, it doesn't give you the file path option, but yeah, if you click the little pencil, it actually tells you. So let's open this up, right? And click the little edit pencil. So what I did was I went to file system, right? Desktop, because that's my folder locker, my evidence locker. Open up the folder, and then I select the image that I want to analyze. And I click the little pencil, and I would have a full path of my file and folder. Okay, I'm full path of my folder, and then also my file. You got to make sure that your file name is exactly how you do it. So I would copy this and I would paste it in here, and then I just need to add the file. Otherwise, you just have to type everything out. So whatever I put here, just make sure that you put as how you name your file and folder, okay? So 004 USB 128 MB. Firefox. Okay, so once I have the information here, I just simply use the default option, and it shows me that this is a disk. Okay, if you are only analyzing partition, you can select the other option, and then you are going to go next. Okay. Oh, why is it saying it's not found? Sorry. Let me go back and rerun this. Okay, make sure we put in the file extension with it. And then click OK. Right, it's gonna mount the image. And it tells you to click add the image file and go next, and then click add on step 50. Take a screenshot. Now, when you get to the end, you basically are trying to find social security number on that drive. And if it doesn't find any social security number, that's okay, right? But you can search for a pre-made keyword search filter. Okay, so we're gonna click add here. And then we're gonna analyze. And it's gonna take a little bit of time to go through, but so ultimately, once you have it going, after you click analyze, you can go in and search for a certain keyword. You can make a list of keyword, but I simply have you just search for a format, like we talked about regular expression, social security number, right? So SSN1 is a social security format. So in the case if you're looking for social security number, okay, so keyword search here. And then we can put in, see you later. You can put in certain types. So we talked about like the encoding system today. You can also put in, so we're gonna do SSN1, right? Or select it. Actually, not type that in. Click selection here, okay? You can put in date format. So if it doesn't have any hits, that's normal because the files that you have on the USB doesn't have any social security number. But if it does, let's say that you have an Excel spreadsheet that has social security numbers, it would have hits there, right? And you can keep doing keyword search until you find something of important. So you click keyword search, and you can put in like, so if I put in a keyword like cybersecurity, and it is if you want it case sensitive, you can select this option, right? If you want regular expression, you can select this where it does the grep, but and then you can click search. Okay, but so now I have one hit, right? If I use so there is something that relates to cybersecurity on the drive. There's 0 hit for social security number. And then you can go dog. See if it finds it by tag. So it finds something that relates to dog on the drive, right? So you can play with it as much as you want. The example that I gave you is just social security number. And yeah, of course, there's no hit because there's no social security number on the drive. But if you search for other things, right? So it tells me there's like 35 occurrences of dog that were found in ASCII, right? You see? All right. Nothing, right? So the point in keyword is we would want the keyword string to pertain to the case. You can see once I have it, it would put in the pattern or the regular expression. If I click it, the Unicode for the keyword that I have used, so it create a history of my keyword there, and then I can reuse it, right? And then if you want IP address, you can click on it to see if there's anything that relates to IP, nothing. And it does the regular expression for IP in the search. So we can do new search and we can try different things. But ultimately, that's the point in having you look for the keyword search. But I want to show you, you can put in like string of your choice, right? World. So there's one hit if I type the word world, WORLD. And then if you click on the link to results, right, it would, ideally it should show you something, but sometime, so it tells you there is something here that relates to that. So we can play with it and then go through, take screenshot and answer the question. There you go. How you go off. Yeah. Well, you gotta. Oh, for the cat. So there was a profile system. Pay 004 here. You copy it to desktop and just leave it there to what's then go to the desktop, open that up, and then here's your image, right? So when you do this, it gives you the path of the folder that you type in child correctly. Yeah, so yeah, because you see the desktop. Okay, now you can mount the stuff. Yeah, the reason why is you have to have that running on your term. Yeah, it times them. Okay, so. To ensure that it's running, the process is running. And then have your make sure everything is in that. Sorry. So you have to put in the path of your image file. So how do I find the path of the image file? So first, go to the desktop folder. Copy. And then, so when you come, make sure that, see, this is how you made your file. It has to be the entire path. The pencil. Copy that. The whole path. And then add the file name. In here. Yeah, you need the method too. And then all of us that. Why would works.
Yeah.
You know, so this is really, right, analysis. Right?
So yeah, because I'm just going to do a screenshot.
Yeah, you can. The way that they make this UI, you can't go back and forth. It doesn't work that way because it is a web service instead of uses. So, and it doesn't have the memory of the last, it only stores like the phone. The screenshot like this, if you can, lots of security. Yeah, case sensitive with the file name also. The you would need that one, and then you just need to plug it in. You need to run the forensic image, right? So the forensic Windows VM, open that up, and then you just need the small event. Yeah, so transfer the Windows virtual machine to your desktop and run it there. Okay. So at the end, you would answer how many hits you get if you use Social Security. Should not have any hits. Take a screenshot, and then you can put down what did you learn about this lab? How can you use Guymager and Autopsy in digital forensic? Right, we talked about Guymager is used for creating system image, which is what you see for the first part. So that way you can use it to analyze in Autopsy, and Autopsy can be used for both, but we use it for analysis. No, I got it. So you can take one of these black drive. You can use the small little drive port as well.
I have both.
Okay,
Thank
perfect.
you.
Yeah, and then make sure you use the forensic image one.
Okay.
Forensic VM.
It's not found.
Yeah, so
This is 20.
we have to find out if your image is named correctly. Right, so what we need to do is we need to go back to the original link. And then it's open the case. Okay. Image file, so let's minimize this. Minimize this. We can actually close this. Okay, so here's your correct. All right, we need to make sure that this path and this name gets added to this link information. So first, we'll copy this. This is going to take you up to the folder, and you have to type the name exactly how you name it here, right? So now go to the terminal. Here. Please. So we're gonna paste this link in, and then we're gonna make sure that we add the file name which is 6. So 004 USB GB dot E01, you cannot get the extension. So. Okay,
Thank you.
any other questions? Yeah. It's there. Oh, okay, so H is an help and these are the options. It's okay. Yeah, so basically, if you don't know, you use the -H because you know it's not an option, but these are the other options. So we're gonna answer these questions here. It says which option is used to specify evidence locker. So yeah, H really indicates a way for you to look at other options. Oh, I'm very good. What is it? Yeah, so it tells you, yeah, that's the next version. Yeah, in the report, you have to do the homework. Does we do it on? Yeah, you can copy and paste from Kelly to that. I will not. And you can also you can only on the Windows one. This is not part of the rest. Yeah, there's no social security number, right? But if you try. Cybersecurity. So there's no social security on the USB, basically, but there are some things that relate to cybersecurity on the USB. Right? Yeah. You drive. So you don't know, right? If you suspect that the drive might have social security numbers, these are free templates. So SSN1 is a regular expression for the digits that represent social security. The 3 to 2, yeah, or the 4, whatever. So go here, and it's gonna place all your stuff in here. Previous search, that's history. So the templates that both options, date, time, here. So yeah, it shows that your drive doesn't have anything that's that's it. Yeah, 0 hits for social security number. But you can try other keyword search like dog, cat, world. Something that would, so it just means that your USB doesn't contain social security number. Okay. So when we're done, just go do shutdown now. Close this. So we will use Autopsy in Windows, which is a little better in the UI, but you guys get the point. Okay. Right, let me stop recording.